So when you're developing a skill, a couple of things that I've noticed with you guys is losing shoes and throwing a blindfold on, closing your eyes. Can you explain kind of the rationale, the reasoning behind trying to get guys to do moves without their shoes on and also doing them while closing their eyes?
Yep. So start without shoes. There's a term that's thrown around. It's called foot prison, and that's what a lot of people call shoes.
I like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. But basically, the concept from a big picture is like if your whole life you've never had gloves on your hands, right? You use your hands for everything. You get calluses, they get burned. They know what hot is. They know what cold is. They know what soft versus spiky and rough is. You experience them and use them, and you have really good feel and sensitivity in your fingers. And your feet are actually one of the most sensitive parts of your body also. But our entire lives, we've been putting them in what is known as a foot prison, right? Putting in a shoe, and they lose sensitivity over time. So you're not actually getting any other sensations other than what a sock feels like or what the warm inside of a shoe is like. That's squishy. So part of it is just getting you to actually learn how to use your feet in a way that like you actually start to use the muscles to grip the ground instead of relying on the shoe to do all the work, which is really important. And then the other piece of it is that with shoes, like, well, this is kind of on that same last one, I suppose. You don't understand what hot and cold is. You don't understand what soft and hard is. Like, if you don't have the ability to distinguish between different sensations, you're not actually going to have awareness with your feet. It's just like having stumps under the end of your legs. Like, if there's just a stump, like, well, you're not going to use it very well, right? You need to have some kind of nerve ending, some kind of proprioception for what your feet are doing. So going barefoot just really gives guys feel for what their body's doing. And then again, because you're going barefoot, you can't rely on the shoes anymore to do the work. So you have to use your feet to hold the ground. You have to use your feet to create pressure. And when you create those sensations, like, it's way harder to do those things, especially in a dynamic move like a throw or a swing, with shoes off than it is with shoes on. So that's kind of the first part of the shoes on or shoes off thing. The second piece of it is that it's under most people's belief, I would suppose, to say that, again, there's probably some contradictory research out there, but most people are born with pretty flat feet. And over time, as we wear shoes, we develop arches in our feet. And as the arches are developed, you have to, if you're going to get it, if you get an arch in your foot, you have to maintain the strength of your foot. So if you lose the strength after you develop the arch, what do a lot of people end up doing with their feet? Start to pronate in and they roll in a lot, right? So they develop this arch in their foot here, right? And then as they go through life, if they actually don't use their foot correctly, then every time they stand, instead of standing here like this with the arch in the foot, it ends up just rolling in, right? So so if guys are going barefoot all the time, what ends up happening is their whole foot ends up getting in contact with the ground better. They use the whole foot and all the musculature in their whole foot to like grab the ground and create force. And we've actually had some guys who've had things like plantar fasciitis, have gone to doctors and gotten all kinds of insoles and special shoes that they have to wear. And then literally, like, it helps for a period of time because it's adding to a compensation. But after a certain period of time, after that compensation kind of starts to fade away again, if they keep doing it, like, their feet start to hurt again. Because they didn't fix the problem. They put a Band-Aid on the issue, which was that their feet weren't strong and they weren't using them well. But they didn't actually fix the problem, which was their feet aren't strong. So if they go barefoot, what ends up happening is we've actually had a couple guys that have completely gotten rid of their plantar fasciitis just by walking around and training barefoot. So the foot one's a weird one, but like every kid will tell you who does it, like it's the worst thing for about 2 weeks. And then you get used to it. And then about 2 months later, after training barefoot almost exclusively, you put on cleats or you put on turfs and it's like, holy crap, this is so easy. Because you actually learned how to use your feet.
Easy as in the moves are easy to create?
Yes, the move's easier to create because the force is actually going to be way easier to create and accept in the ground because you have the rubber sole of the shoe or the cleats in the dirt to actually do a lot of the work too. So you learned how to accept all the force of your body into your
Mm-hmm.
foot, into your bare foot. So now when you have the assistance of a shoe, it makes it that much easier.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting when you talk about the gloves example. I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's really intriguing. Now, if we go to the closing your eyes part of it, Eugene and I were actually out the other day. It's funny. We were out with his two girls, and Mac instinctively on her own, she was throwing with Eugene, and for a throw, she closed her eyes and she threw a strike like right through his chest. And she did like 2 or 3 more times. And whenever her eyes were closed, she was like dialed in around the zone, like moves were